You love podcasts, the stories, the laughs, the unexpected turns. But when this episode ends, the silence starts. Not anymore. Audiobooks.com turns that silence into your next great adventure. With over 450,000 titles, from bestsellers to hidden gems, your love for listening just found its new best friend. And because you already know the joy of audio, we're giving you 3 free audiobooks to start your journey. Imagine your favorite podcast, now with unlimited episodes. That's audiobooks.com. Keep the story going. Sign up for your free trial at audiobooks.com/podcastfree today. Because for podcast lovers like you, the end of an episode is just the beginning. That's audiobooks.com/podcastfree.
All right, before we start today, I got to give a shout out to our newest sponsor, which is VetCS. And if you're not familiar with VetCS, they are a CBD oil company or a CBD product company that specializes in CBD products for animals. And they were founded by a veterinarian and certified veterinarian technician. They're out of Colorado, and they provide, super scientifically sound and researched and transparently sourced Colorado hemp and CBD products for dogs, cats, and horses. One of the only products out there for horses that there is. So you need to check them out. They donate 5% of all their profits to rescue groups and support animal health and rescue groups that support animal health and well-being. And if you use the promo code BigTruth at checkout, you get 10% off all your orders there. So check them out at vetcs.com. On IG, at Instagram, it's just at vet_CS, and Facebook, it's just VetCS, VETCS. But yeah, check them out. They're in Colorado. Really good stuff, like high quality, high standards. I just got some of their oil for Grim, my German Shepherd. He's having some neuropathy issues in his rear end with his hindquarters, 2 legs in the back. And I got the peanut butter treats for Freya because she's a little skittish, and it's just started them on that, and it seems to be helping already. Just in a 5 days, it's already seems like it's really already kicking in. So check them out. And if you're interested in supporting this show and you're a listener, please check out the Patreon, which is patreon.com/BigTruth. That's a way for you to financially support the show. Shout out to all my Patreon members and subscribers. You guys really keep this show going and growing. There's 4 different tiers of membership there. And they all have their own exclusive benefits and privileges and whatnot. We give people access to the new episodes early, as much as I can. This is basically a one-man operation, so I'm doing this in between running 2 businesses and going gray really fast because I'm stressed out all the time. So, but you guys really help make it easier. So shout out to all the Patreon subscribers. My boy Diggy came in on Saturday to the shop. He's one of our Patreon subscribers. He didn't even introduce himself. He was flying undercover, secret shopper style, just to see if I'd treat him correct, I guess. No, I'm just playing. But man, I've had a few people come out, and it's been awesome. It's great to meet you guys. So you're welcome anytime. Now, we went over CBD oil for your pets. If you need some for yourself, I've been using Cradle Lake Clear CBD oils for myself, and they are another top-of-the-line, organic, transparently sourced material, CBD oil company. There's so much CBD out there now, and there's so much garbage. Like, I will only support companies that are top-of-the-line and are no bullshit. So you need to check them out. And, I take their CBD oil pretty much every night, and it helps me sleep like a little child, nestled in a I don't know, whatever you call it. I don't know. I don't write any of this shit down. I just make it up as I go. So sometimes I stumble and fall. I'm on a couple hours sleep, and, so there. But you need to check them out, cradlelakeclear.com. Best human CBD oil in the game. They, if you use the promo code BigTruth there, you get 20% off your order. So really check it out. If you are looking for motorcycle parts or apparel or whatnot, you need to check out Old Bike Barn at oldbikebarn.com. They are a mainstay in the motorcycle industry, and they got a lot of rare, like a hard to find parts for your old Japanese bikes that a lot of people don't carry. They got their own line of leather and leather apparel and riding gear and knives under the White Knuckler brand, where everything is made in the U.S. So really check them out, oldbikebarn.com. Good people, and, really an asset to the industry and to the motorcycling community. If you happen to be in the unfortunate situation where you find yourself in a motorcycle accident, you need to check out Law Tigers over at lawtigers.com, or go to Facebook and type in Law Tigers in your state so you can get in touch with the local regional office there. They are a motorcycle accident, an injury law firm that was founded by riders for riders. So check them out and support. My brothers have a clothing company called Omerta, and if you haven't heard of it by now, you need to really get over to omertamia.com and check it out. They have all kinds of clothing there. Top of the line, real deal, as real as it gets, streetwear brand. If you've seen the Stop Glorifying Rats shirt or Intimidate All Witnesses, that's my favorite one. They got all kinds of gear, whether you need a t-shirt, a hoodie, scarf, socks, whatever. They got limited edition art prints and whatnot. So check them out, Omerta, Omerta, and their website is Omertamia, Omertamia.com. Use the promo code Big Truth at checkout there, and you get 20% off your order over there. So don't sleep. They always got all kinds of exclusive shit going on with collabos with bands like Murphy's Law and the Business. They've done all kinds of shit. So you need to really check them out, Omertamia.com. And if you're looking for more clothing and you're on the darker side of things, you're into weird shit like serial killers or the occult or just cults in general, psychedelic drugs, fucking antisocial behavior, street weaponry, but you're also like choppers and show vans, like 70s boogie vans and stuff, and custom bikes and stuff, then you will really dig my man Zach Doom's clothing company called Heavy, and you can find them at heavy.bigcartel.com and on Instagram at Heavy Clothing. We're going to be vending with them over at Mama Tried this weekend, and we're my man Bobby Good Times from Chicago will be there too. He's actually from Jersey, but been living in Chicago for a long time now. So, make sure you come hang out with us at the booth this weekend coming up at Mama Tried. What else we got here? Chop Cult. While we're talking about motorcycles, Chop Cult is the biggest motorcycle information clearinghouse and message board that there is out there. Go to chopcult.com. Everything's broken up by topic, so you can find all kinds of information there. And also, they have a online swap meet where you can buy, sell, and trade parts. They got an online store where they carry their own gear and gear from like selected vendors and partners. They have and parts and stuff. They have an online calendar of events where you can find out about motorcycle-related events all across the world. And so much more information. Check them out at chopcult.com and on all the social media, simply at chopcult. Pitchfork, pitchforkny.com, clothing company and record label run by brothers of mine. Make sure you check that out. Mainstay in the punk, hardcore, and metal community for well over a decade, pitchforkny.com. And if you are looking, spring is coming up. And some of you may know it, but I got a full-service motorcycle shop here. It's a brick-and-mortar store. You can come in. We do everything from oil changes to a full custom chopper build. We do motor rebuilds. We do everything. So you need to check it out. If you are in the Northeast, come by 13 County Road, East Freetown, Massachusetts. We got an online store, chopperhead.com. We got a parts counter here, a showroom here where you can try on helmets. You don't have to guess on your size and shit. Like we carry Bell, Biltwell, Simpson helmets, all kinds of shit. And we've got access to so much more. If there's anything you need, we can get it, or we have it, or we make it. So I'm going to be the first to admit my online store isn't the most complete or thorough that there can be. But just give us a call if there's something you're looking for. And last but not least, and that's just at chopperhead.com, on Instagram at chopperhead, CHOPPAHEAD, and Facebook, it's Chopperhead Customs, custom spelt with a K. And last but not least, Big Truth Podcast, if you want, .com, if you want to check out more information about the show. And I'm not going to keep running on anymore. We're going to jump into it right now.
Big Truth Podcast. Laying down the hatches! Get ready!
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Yes, once again, we have liftoff. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode of the Big Truth Podcast. And before I announce my guest today, I just got to make a special announcement. We're going to be doing the first ever live edition of this podcast. Going on this weekend, Saturday, March 5th. We're going to be doing this live at the Mama Tried show in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I know a lot of people will be at that show. So make sure on Saturday at the Rave Club, around noon, we're going to be doing a live broadcast of the show. Zach from Heavy and a bunch of Scott from Fuel and Mama Tried will be there. We'll get a bunch of special guests on there. So make sure if you're at the show to come by and hang out. And we'll have more information about that on the website. But without further ado, I got an episode today that I've been looking forward to for a while. I got the homie Mike Judge from the band's Judge. He was in Death Before Dishonor, the old New York Death Before Dishonor, not the new Boston one. Bands like Youth of Today and whatnot. A pillar in the New York hardcore community. So I want to formally welcome Mike to the show. Mike, what's happening, bro?
What's going on, brother? Happy to talk to you finally.
Oh yeah, no, I know. We've been playing this one for a while, and good things come to all that wait, all who wait. And I know you've been moving and handling all kinds of stuff, so I appreciate you taking the time to come on today, and stoked to have you here. So you know, what's I know you recently moved to upstate New York. What's been going on, man? What have you been up to?
Oh, nothing, man. Like right before everything fucking shut down, I was like losing my job and shit back in Jersey, and then was going through all this shit with my apartment or condo, and then everything fell apart in the world, and I was just basically, me and my wife just had no place to go, and then an old friend, Steve Reddy, invited me up here in Albany, and hooked me up with a place to stay and shit and a job. So now we're up in Albany.
Oh yeah, you liking it so far?
Yeah, Albany's a trip, man. It's fucking great. It's weird up here. Like where I live, the block I live on is like really nice and shit. Like right next to Albany Med. So it's like my block is like really nice, but then a block either way, people are shooting each other. It's like just fucking crazy up there.
Yeah. It's like a lot of, that's kind of the par for the course with a lot of American cities. Like you can be on the nicest block and then like literally a 2-minute walk, you're in like total war zone. That's how like Providence is. And, Boston used to be that way before it got fully gentrified. Now, but I think COVID's like the great equalizer was a lot of that shit and a lot of, you're seeing more street crime and everything coming back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But Albany's cool because it's still one of like an affordable place to live that's like in a city, It's like, it's cool. And there's a good, there's still like a thriving scene out there, which is cool. But anything going on with the band? I know you guys were going hard for a while, and then I know COVID, or I even saying the word because you could get pulled off the air for even doing that. They'll take me down on YouTube. But before all the shit that happened in the last couple of years, everything kind of went for a halt. Do you guys got any plans coming up to get anything going again?
I think in June we're going to go out for a little while, but other than that, no. Like two of our guys are in Shelter and Youth of Today, and Charlie's in Gorilla Biscuits. So
yeah,
kind of like Judge just waits its turn. I'm fine with it because I like where I'm at, and I like the people who are around here and shit. So.
Yeah,
it's all good. And plus, there's a lot of bands who like need to go out
for
a living, So let them get their time.
Of course, yeah. It's a lot harder to do a band when you're like, you know, nearing middle age than it is when you're like an 18-year-old kid, you know.
Oh yeah.
There's so many more.
It was even hard. It was even hard back then, man. I mean, that was kind of like part of the reason Judge broke up in the first place is because I was getting to a point where I just couldn't keep losing jobs, you know, like
Yeah.
all this shit was going on. And then it's hard to fucking get a job and be like, well, I'm going to be gone for 2 months. So, you know, it just didn't work. So I'd lose a job, have to come home because it's not like we were making money on tour. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'd lose a job, go on tour, come back, have to find a job, leave again. It got crazy.
Yeah, there's not a lot of jobs you can have where you can say, all right, I'm gonna need 3 weeks off here, 2 weeks off here, a month off here, or especially back in the day when tours were a lot longer. A lot like seems like now a lot of things are like more like a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, but back in the day it'd be a month or two, like, you know, and yeah, no, I get that for sure. That's the eternal struggle with a lot of people that bands. Plus, you know, New York and everywhere there's the same stuff's going on. Like dudes are just in multiple bands, like and so there's a lot of scheduling required for a lot of things. Yeah,
no doubt.
What you know, for you know, what I gotta say is this isn't blowing smoke, but like when I first. Why I'm stoked to have you on is that there's very few records in life that put something on and you're like, holy fucking shit. Like, and I got the Judge, the 7-inch, I got it from Porcell, like when I ordered it from Schism, and it came in the mail when I was a kid, and put that on, and like literally only like 2 or 3 records ever in my life have blown me away that fucking hard. You know what I mean? So it was like fucking mind, you know, like, you know, life changing, man. You know, it's for lack of a better word, like it like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was a fucking heavy record and a heavy influence in my life. Like how did Judge, for people that might not be familiar, I know you've had other interviews where you've kind of explained some of this, but for some of the listenership here, because I appeal to the motorcycle crowd, the hardcore crowd, and you know, like different things, and now there's a lot more overlap in the hardcore and motorcycle scene than there was when we were younger. But like, you know, how did that Judge first 7-inch come about? And like, you know, like I know you had prior to that been in Youth of Today and Death Before Dishonor, but Judge just had a whole different vibe to it, like a way more harder edge to it, and way more abrasive than a lot of the other stuff. Like, tell a little bit more about like the.
I mean, yeah, origins. Basically, I was in Youth of Today, and you know, we toured a lot with Youth of Today.
Yeah,
especially that Break Down the Walls tour was like, just seemed like it was never going to end, and it was a hard tour, man. I mean, there wasn't money and shit, and we were fucking, you know, our band was always breaking down. We were working in junkyards and shit to get the band fixed. It was a rough time, and we were catching a lot of shit for, like, the band was catching a lot of shit for their fucking message, which was a positive, like, it was a positive thing. We're trying to do good, and people were coming down on them, and it was making me fucking just crazy. It was making me nuts inside. And I just remember having conversations with those guys, and they're like, you know, it's just the way it is. You got to grin and bear it. And I was like, I was just never brought up to grin and bear it. I just want to fucking smash these people. And so one night I was like sleeping in the van in a junkyard because someone had to watch the equipment. And I was just thinking, like, when I get back to New York, I'm going to fucking start my own fucking thing. I'm going to say my own fucking, I'm going to say how I feel. And so that's when it was born. The idea was born. And then, you know, we do get back to New York, and I wound up quitting Youth of Today because I just didn't want to go through that anymore. And, you know, Purcell joins Alex doing Schism. And, you know, they wanted I was telling Purcell I wrote these lyrics, and he was like, whoa, shit, that's fucking cool. And they were like, maybe we could record something and, you know, put it out with the Schism fanzine, something like that, like Project X kind of shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care. I just want to do it. So it was never meant to be a band. It was just me and Purcell recorded it. So I sang and played drums. He played bass and guitar, and it was just all my ideas. I wrote the music because I was living in Brooklyn at the time with Purcell, so I just sat around all day. And I guess just the music I was listening to that I grew up on, that I loved, not only was, like this band Last Rites from Boston and SSD, but I also loved Black Sabbath Volume 4 was like a Bible to me and shit. So I guess the music just started sounding, taking influences from that, and that's how it sounded.
Hey, not to cut you off. The audio just got real light on your side. I don't know if the mic moved or something.
I'm wearing earphones, so I'm not really good.
No, now it's good. Yeah. It just got real faint for a little bit, but now you're back. I just saw, just an aside real quick, I just saw someone, my friend of mine, Ben, from that band Drop Dead, had a couple of his old Last Right 7 inches with the different cover variations for sale. And it's amazing to me how much old records are going for, man. Blew my mind. I was like, man, I wish I never traded mine away, dude. Fuck. I could buy a house. I could buy a house with my records right now, dude. It's fucking nuts.
Yeah. I'm even worse because I had all these sick records, but, I never thought twice about playing the fuck out of them and shit. And a lot of them, I would just play the record, and because I was trying to teach myself how to play drums at the time. So I'd put the record on and I'd play drums next to it and play it, and the needles bouncing around and all these records are screwed up.
Yeah.
And now all those records are worth so much. It's just like shit, man.
Yeah.
I had no fucking clue.
I don't know. If I was a kid, if I knew that when I was a kid, I would have scrounged and saved the extra couple bucks and bought extra copies and just left them unplayed in the back.
Who
knew that hardcore records would have a better return on investment than most stocks? It's fucking nuts. But
for real.
So sorry, man. I didn't mean to derail it, but I just haven't talked about Last Rites with anyone in a while, and it's this is the first time it's come up twice in 2 weeks, so it's twice in a week. So we laugh,
When I moved into the apartment with Purcell and Al Brown.
Yeah.
It was in this apartment in Williamsburg, back before Williamsburg was nice and shit. It was crazy there. And Al Brown's record collection and Purcell's record collection were fucking incredible. And I just remember out of all of it, they had, I forget which one had it, but they had the Last Rites demo. And when I heard that, I was like, holy shit, this is the fucking heaviest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And so that was it for me. SSD Get It Away, that Last Rites demo, I mean, I could live with those records forever.
Yeah, and it's crazy how some records like that, like you said, are kind of altering to you and stay with you. There's still a few records like that to this day. I can still listen to cover without skipping a song and has the same feeling. And sometimes it's cool when you don't listen to one of those records for a couple years and then you pick it back up and you get that lump in your throat and stomach sinks and you get all fucking amped up. It's I just love that, you know what I mean? But man, didn't mean to derail you. So you were talking about how you were kind of hanging out at the house and writing some of the music, listening to Sabbath and Last Rites and whatnot. Yeah,
and I wrote those songs and Purcell dug it, so we recorded it, and then Schism put it out, and I don't know, people just really liked it.
Yeah.
And I just remember Purcell being like, we're going to get a couple of guys and we're going to play the Anthrax. And I was like, I wasn't ready for that because I didn't want to sing in front of a crowd, because I like to hide behind a drum set.
Yeah. You're used to being in the back of the stage. Now you're going to be stage center.
Yeah. But I really wanted to say the things I wanted to say, so force myself to do it.
Yeah, did you guys think it was going to take off like it did? Because it that record hit and then it just went bang, it just resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah, fast. it got crazy quick and shit, and then I was like, I realized I was kind of at one point it felt like I wrote the soundtrack to a violent fucking act and shit.
Yeah,
and I was like, maybe I should maybe I should have thought this out more. And I think I put more thought into my lyrics, realizing how important the words were.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew how important words were because some of those early records saved my life, you know. So I knew how important words were. But when I wrote that first Judge 7-inch, I was fucking pissed.
Yeah.
I was pissed at the way Youth of Today was treated, and I was pissed that it just felt like we weren't getting credit for like how hard we worked.
Yeah.
And we were getting stepped on by like Maximum Rock and Roll and shit, and it's just like I just wanted the fucking. It was basically like I wanted all the shit that they were saying that we were about. I was going to start a band that was that. So now they could tell the difference.
Yeah.
You know, you say it's the good guys, Judge's the bad guys. This is the difference.
Yeah. 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 No, and that's, you know, and I remember those days. Like, it was a weird time because, you know, Youth of Today was one of the early kind of, for lack of a better word, like the positive, like whatever youth crew stuff. Like, so we were coming out of a world that was more punk rock, and kids were, you know, getting hammered wearing spikes and fucking mohawks and stuff. And then Youth of Today comes out like wearing like sports gear and shit, you know what I mean? And got shit on for it, even though that's like one of the hard, like Break Down the Walls is one of the hardest fucking records, like, you know what I mean, to come out.
Yeah.
And it seemed like, you know, people were getting caught up more in the imagery of it. And it was one of the hardest records, but one of the most positive records. So it was kind of like, I remember being a kid trying to explain it to my father because he's like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, no, look at the words. And he's like, oh shit, that, you know what I mean? He was like stoked, you know?
Yeah.
And it was, you know, it was weird because, you know, it was like one of the angriest records, but with one of the most positive messages. So it was, but yeah, I remember all that. Like, I remember there was kind of a big divide with some of the old guard and the new kids coming in. And, you know, it was a little divisive. And Maximum Rock and Roll just used to just shit on a lot of fucking East Coast shit, you know what I mean? No matter what, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they started with Agnostic Front in the 80s, early 80s, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But, so, you know, that was always one of those zines that I never paid much mind. Like, I'd buy every issue to, like, look at the record reviews and, like, look at ads and shit and try and find shit. Because, you know, back in the day, it was like, that's how you found out about new shit. Like, it, you know, and there wasn't an internet. But I never really paid it, the editorial stuff, too much of a mind because it never really hit with me, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, what was interesting is like, yeah, you may judge the bad guys and like Porcell and you were in both bands, you know what I mean? Like, so it was like, did it feel like the alter egos or just like the rage side came out with Judge?
No, because it was always me.
Yeah.
Because they were my words, and usually if there was anger directed at the band, it was usually directed at me. You know, Purcell was always like, you know,
yeah,
Purcell's Teflon, man. Nothing sticks to him. So if someone was mad, they were mad at me.
Yeah,
and that's why those tours got fucking crazy at times. And you know, one of the best things that happened was, you know, I was like, I needed someone to like come out and tour with me, so it just wouldn't be me standing up to like some of these people.
Yeah.
You know, like, because, you know, Sandy and Matt, they're like 14, 15.
Yeah.
They're just like little kids and shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was feeling like kind of like vulnerable. So wound up, that's how I met, you know, who turned out to be like my best friend until the day he died, was Todd, this kid Todd. I went to school with him, but I was never friends with him and shit. He was like this surfer jock type guy, and I was like this outcast punk rock guy. We just never got along. Not that we ever had words, that we were just like in two different circles and we just didn't mix.
Yeah.
And I remember like, you know, Judge was getting ready to go out for like, you know, for Bringing It Down. And I was like, man, I was like telling this older dude who from the town I lived in, who, you know, he's the one who got me into punk rock, gave me my first records and stuff. So I was talking with him one night and I was like, God, I'm really not stoked about going out because I got to go do all this shit and I feel like I'm by myself all the time. And he's like, you got to get somebody who will fucking, get rough with you if when times get rough.
Yeah. You got to bring a
I was
hammer.
like, I was like, so who is that? Who is that guy? And he's like, well, my friend Todd is back from the Marines and he's got nothing to do. And I was like, fucking Todd Schwartz, the surfer kid? Like, he's cool now. He's like a skateboarder and shit. So we asked Todd and he was like, yeah, I'll do it. And that was it, man. We became best friends after that.
Oh yeah, man.
Like, I remember, like, all this shit happened on that tour. Basically tore the band apart by the end. By the time we got on our way home and down in Florida, I was, like, convinced I was, like, quitting this band. It was just, like, fucking all these bad things happened, like, one after another on the way to Florida. And actually, like, Texas show got canceled because Hammerskins were going to show up. The promoters didn't want to deal with it. So we fucking blew by Texas. We got pulled over in Tennessee by these fucking crazy racist fucking cops spitting, chewing tobacco on me and shit. Called me like a New York queer and shit, New York faggot. And, what are you doing down here? All this fucking crazy shit. And I'm just like, my head is still spinning from everything. Get down to Florida. All these fucking other white power fucking skinheads fucking show up. All this fucking shit. I have no fucking clue if I'm going to fucking even make it out of this fucking scene. Finally get through that night. All the kids from the local scene are in fanzines and shit, spreading word that Judge pussed out and shit. Like, basically it was 2 guys against like 100. How could I have pussed out? Like, what more could I have done?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's that. So I was like, I'm fed up with all this shit. I don't want nothing to do with any of these motherfuckers. And so I just tell Purcell, I'm like, I'm not doing this band anymore. I'm out of it. Drop me off at home and don't fucking call me. And that's basically what I did. I fucking got home and I just fucking, I was depressed and shit because I lost my band. I was like, fucking sitting in my room and shit, all this fucked up. I'm just all fucked up. And I don't know, maybe like a week later, I'm sitting and I hear a fucking motorcycle coming down the driveway because we had this long dirt road. Look out, it's fucking Todd. He's on like he went and got a fucking like what was it? Fat Boy. I think it was a 1990 Fat Boy. He's all stoked and he's like, hey.
That's the first year Fat Boy too. Was it the gray one?
Year, the Fat Boy.
The gray one. Yeah, with the yellow stripes. Those are worth
the yellow
money.
stripe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he shows up on that and he's like, I didn't know how to get in touch with you, so I just dropped by. Let's go for a ride. And so that's what we did. We went out and just started fucking riding, and like we rode like every fucking day. And I just got my head straight like that, just riding around. Fucking wound up going down to Florida. We spent like that was like sometime during the summer, and we spent the rest of that summer like just riding motorcycles and fucking just not thinking about much. It was great.
What were you riding at that time?
Same bike I still have. It was an '89 Softail, but it was all like chopped up. It was all like the frame was welded to a hardtail. It was raked. It was a sick ride. It was just a badass fucking ride.
Yeah. So you were, riding a rigid Softail down to Florida from the Northeast, is an adventure in itself.
Oh yeah. We had this crazy idea that we would fucking hit up Daytona Bike Week. So we left here, I think it was like February or something. It's fucking freezing up here.
Yeah.
And I think my bike made it down to one of those first south of the border truck stops.
Yeah.
And it just gave out like the fucking, I don't know. I had this like crazy ignition put in, so it didn't have a rev limiter, but it had like, I think it was a crane ignition or something like,
yep.
And whoever like bolted it up didn't bolt the timing cup or something. So the bolt backed out and we had no idea. So the timing, bike just died and just wouldn't start. And, once again, fucking Todd, he comes out of the thing. He's like, you know, I'm on the phone with like the guy who helped build it, and we're just trying to troubleshoot. And I'm running back and forth into the parking lot, taking part. Can't figure it out. And then Todd comes out. He goes, "Don't worry, I got a guy who's going to take the bike down to Florida for us." And then the guy who built the bike was like, "I'm leaving now. I'll be down. I'll be down in like 3 days." It was just like this crazy thing, like, and it fucking worked out. So
yeah, man. Yeah. So that's the bike you still got to this day.
yeah,
Nice.
yep.
Offline, if you got a picture, dude, you gotta send me a picture of that. But
I
yeah.
will. No doubt.
So I mean, and that goes into a lot of overlap, like we were talking about with the show here. Like I found motorcycles like it was probably a little bit later than you. It was like late 90s, and I mean, to me, it was I don't know, like a natural progression. I've said it a lot in interviews and whatnot, but to me, you know, motorcycles were the next thing. Like from hardcore, that was like loud, fast, and dangerous, and do it yourself. There was a lot, but it was different, you know, because it was like a different outlet, but like hit the same notes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It struck the same chords, and but you know, it wasn't being in a band or going to a show. It was getting on a bike and going somewhere, and just, you know, also just add the freedom element to that, you know. But yeah, you know, and also, you know, in the custom bike world, that had the DIY ethic too, you know, like a lot of going to swap meets and trading parts with people, and, you know, pre-internet where you had to kind of be more at events to get shit and find shit out and whatnot. It was like the same thing. You know,
I've been to many swap meets, brother.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I fucking love that shit.
Yeah, man, for sure.
But I've been into motorcycles forever. Like even when I was a little kid,
of course.
Like I had like my first bike was like a Honda 50, and then like I graduated to a Honda Z50. I don't even remember what the differences were, but the thing was, like, where I lived, there wasn't like really any kids around. It's like all woods and shit, woods and cornfields back then. And, you know, I just fucking, thing it did for me is like Wide World Sports. I seen Evel Knievel one Sunday. And I was like, holy shit, I want to do that. And that's what I did. You know, I was fucking setting up lamps and fucking breaking bones and shit, just trying to be like him. I just fucking fell in love with motorcycles. And then the turning point for like, you know, really wanting to like, you know, ride Harleys and shit. It was like just being on the highway one day. We're going on Route 80, this big highway and shit with my father. And we passed this fucking HAs on this like little fucking chopped out bike. And I was like, it just looked, I mean, it was the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, I want to be that when I grow up. You know, that's all I wanted to do. I was like, what is that? And my father was like, the Harley Davidson. Because my father had a Harley, right? But it was like one of those, it was the AMF years.
Yep.
So it was like, it was this big fucking glide. It had this big, it was was it purple or maroon? Candy apple, purple, maroon, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the fairing, the front fairing was fucking white with all like black and beige stripes. It had 3 million lights on it. Had this big chrome 8-track tape player on the handlebars and shit.
And that was the new like, shit too, right? Back then, that was like
it was just shit. Like the fucking and then like just like all those AMFs, like once the wiring went, like no one could figure it out ever again.
Yeah.
So my older brother wound up just taking all that shit off. Like anything that didn't make the bike go was taken off. And once that bike was stripped down, I was like, holy shit, that's the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that after that, I was like, that's what I want. I just want that.
I think it's fucking rad, and it's something I've noticed, and like a lot of people that I know that are into bikes, or like especially from like the backgrounds like we're from, or like the age range we're from, everyone has a recollection. Like it's the same shit, man. Like I remember being a kid driving around with my father through. I grew up in a city called New Bedford, and it's about 40 minutes south of Boston. But it was like gritty fucking shitty mill city where it was like it used to be a whaling city and all the mills were closed down, so it was kind of like a depressed city, you know. But I remember driving by one day and there was like a group of, you know, there was an MC rode by when they were still riding like clapped out choppers and fucking crazy shit, and I remember looking at those guys being, fuck, that's you know, that's what I got to do. You know what I mean? Like it just it's something, you see that shit and it resonates with you. And then, you know, then later in life when I started getting into bikes, that's what I had as an idea in my head for what I wanted to ride. I was like, I just remember like my first bike was like a Suzuki Savage because it was like all I could afford, right? It was like, you know, $400 or something. And I was like, all right, let me pick up this thing and fucking ride it around for a little bit. And I just remember like, no, like, and I didn't know how to explain it because, you know, I hadn't seen any like choppers for since then, since I was a kid. And I was like, no, like the tank needs to be higher up. Like I need the tank like almost like looking like it's under my chin. You know, I was thinking of a stretched out and raked out bike, you know, and I was like, I can't find that. And then I was like, and then we were like, oh shit, no, that's all custom shit. And then my next bike was a 64 Triumph, but that was all, you know, 12-inch over Springer and all that shit and raked out and fucking death trap. And I was living in Boston at that time and trying to keep up on the highway on a 650, not being a small dude with a Springer that's bouncing around doing 85 and, you know, car right behind me and a car right in front of me, like no room for error, you know, that type, white knuckling it to get home every night, you know. But no, neither here nor there. But I think that's a cool thing, man. Like, and it shows the power of like some of that, like what that type of like imagery can imprint on a kid when you see that, like, you know what I mean? And I hope there's kids that seeing us, like dudes like us out on the bikes now and being like, oh fuck, that's fucking badass. I want to do that when I'm older because that was cool shit. And something else you hit on too, which I think is kind of important because you said, you know, when you were younger, there was an older dude that kind of got you into punk rock and showed you records and music and stuff. Like, seems like a lot of people I talk to, that's how they find their way into these scenes. Like, you know, like a dude or someone's older brother or something starts like introducing you to bands and giving you records and stuff. And I remember there was an old skinhead kid by me, this dude Steve, and he was showing me all the raddest shit. Like, you know, like I remember he gave me a Skins, Brains, and Guts 7-inch, and oh, you got to listen to this, and you should introduce me to like Negative Approach and shit like that. And I was like, oh fuck, dude, this shit's fucking rad. And like, is that like, how did you find your way even into, before we even get into the bike stuff, how did you find your way into like the hardcore scene? Because you started talking about that a little while ago.
Well, basically it's because I was a fucking screwed up kid.
Yeah.
You know, like when I basically grew up by myself because, you know, my mom died when I was like fucking, I don't remember, like 9, 10 years old, whatever. And my father just was a working guy. He liked to work, and then he liked to go out at night and fucking drink beer. And then, so he was never around. So I was just left up to my own shit. And basically, like, once it came time to go to school and shit, I wasn't ready for that because I didn't know how to like mix in with fucking kids or have a conversation. Just wasn't good at that. So I was like really extremely introverted and shit. So, and then it was all right for the first, you know, whatever 6 years you go to school. But once I got into like middle school and high school, a guy like me became a target because, you know, I just didn't have friends and I was quiet. You know, I was like, you know, I was a fuck up, you know, and people fucking put a target on me for that. And I noticed that there were only a couple other kids who were getting treated like that. And it seemed to me that they were being treated like that because of the way they looked, not because of the way they acted. And these were like this handful of like punk rock kids. I didn't even know what punk rock was. And I wound up getting put into a homeroom with one of them. And he was the one who talked to me. He introduced me to this other dude named Howard, who was like older than us. I think he might have been a senior at the time. I don't remember. But that dude was like, let me give you a ride home. And we stopped at his house and he's like, here, listen to this. And he was like showing me all these records. And, you know, he wound up letting me fucking borrow like this old Dead Boys record and shit. And basically every day I was just like, it was like, in my mind, I was like, if I get into this, then these kids who don't like me, you know, I convinced myself that they didn't like me because I was into punk rock now.
Mm.
It was easier on my fucking psyche to believe that than to actually believe the truth that they didn't like me because I'm weird. You know, they didn't like me because I'm socially maladjusted. I didn't even know what socially maladjusted meant until I got into high school, and they're like, you know, guidance counselors like, you know, you're fucked up. We're going to take you out of normal classes. We're going to put you up in this special class, and we don't want you around the rest of the kids. You know, I was like, all right, I get it. Fucking school sucks. I can't wait to get out of here anyway.
Yeah.
But by then, I was already into punk rock, and these guys were like taking me to New York to see shows and shit. And once I went to my first like actual hardcore show, I think it was like Crowd, somebody, and also, you know, we wound up to be like a couple towns away from the Misfits.
Yeah.
So we were hearing stories about them all the time and shit, and they were like so fucking weird looking, but they didn't give a fuck. And I was just like, I don't give a fuck about anything except, you know, coming to New York City, seeing these shows and hanging out with these people. Like, these are my people. And then that was it. Like, once I seen my first CB's matinee, like CB's had matinees on Saturdays back then. My first one was Agnostic Front with the old singer John Watson.
Yep.
I went to that show, and I was like, this is a wrap. I'm going to be here every weekend. I don't care what the school can fucking torment me for all week long, but on the weekends I'm here.
Yep.
And that was it.
Yeah, that was like how it was for us. With like, we'd go to the old Rat, or in Boston, or Babyhead, or it was called the Rocket at the time in Providence. Like, you know, back then, you know, it would be weird, man, because what was cool for us is that the Rat would have a matinee one day, and then the Providence show would happen the next day. You know, like bands could play, you know, half hour away from each other. Like they could do a show, you know, a half hour away. And, you know, today they didn't have to pick markets as much, you know what I mean? Because like people just went out to shows more. So you could go to the Providence show one day and the Boston show the next day, or vice versa, see the same show, you know, different openers or whatever, you know. But yeah, man, it was right. It was like a solace, even though it was like probably one of the sketchiest, kind of like dangerous environments. It was a solace from regular life. Being able to have that place, it was like you know, it was like, you know, and back then too, you know, I know especially with CBs and stuff back then, it was like an adventure just getting to the show half the time.
Yeah, no doubt. I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it. You know, I would go in by myself. I learned how to take the bus and shit. So I'd be like 14 years old. I'd be on the bus, fucking, you know, 25-minute ride from where I was, get off at Port Authority. Yep. And I would just fucking walk around 42nd Street just having a fucking ball.
Yeah.
You know, because I like, no lie, like in my town, it's like just like a fucking redneck fucking town. And I mean, I'd get the shit kicked out of me 2-3 times fucking week just walking down the road. So, like, it was no big deal fucking going to New York. Like, what was going to happen? I'd get beat up again. You know, like the thought of like something worse happening to me never crossed my mind. I didn't care.
Yep.
You know, like, so what? The reward was when I get down to the fucking show, you know, and then I wanted to be there at all costs. It just didn't matter to me.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I remember me and my friend Pat took the bus to New York when we were 16 to go see Nihilistics and Sheer Terror at CB's, and just we slept in the Port Authority, took turns like staying up, kind of standing guard, because you know it was more wild style back then, just in general, you know. So you kind of had to, but yeah, yeah, man, and I feel like, you know, motorcycling is the same, man. It's like an escape from like regular life, regular society, and you know, it's like even though you're doing some shit that's dangerous, it's what feels good, and it's like solitude and solace, you know, riding. But yeah, so we were talking about records being worth money, man. I bet you wish you kept a couple more Chung Kings.
Yeah, that record.
Well,
I just never understood it. Like, I remember they're like, fucking, we went for $6,000 on that Discogs and shit. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Fuck, dude. But, you know, that was like, what was kind of like the story with that? Like, what happened there?
Well, we wanted to do, after the 7-inch, we wanted to record, you know, our first 12-inch. We had these songs and shit. And at the time, you know, a lot of, you know, like, there's a lot of shit, like Beastie Boys and shit were out of that place. I think Leeway recorded there. All this shit happened there. And we just, like, I think Danzig was there or something. I don't know. I never paid attention to that kind of shit. It was all, I never set up that kind of stuff, but they're like, we're going to record at Chun King's House of Metal. And basically, we got like the worst. I think he might have even been an apprentice fucking engineer. And we could only record, the only time we could afford was like 2 a.m. or some shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And we couldn't afford like multiple days. So like basically when I got there, I had to do like all the songs, all one, you know, all one after another. Like my voice was blowing out, but I still had to keep going.
Yeah.
The fucking engineer was like a fucking cokehead or a crackhead or something, because he was like looking for, he spilled his shit and he was like looking for rocks in the rug and shit. It's just, it was just an awful fucking deal.
Yeah, yeah.
And but still, you know, like I did my part and I go back to Jersey, and then Youth of Today winds up going to Europe on tour. And then I remember Al Brown calls me up and he's like, yeah, I got a copy of the fucking Chun King record. Come listen. So I go into Brooklyn and listen to it, and it's just fucking, it just sounds like fucking shit. It was just awful. Like, drums sounded like Sammy's hitting cardboard boxes and shit. It was just the worst fucking thing. And I was fucking heartbroken. And when I finally fucking talked to Purcell, I'm like, this record sucks, dude. It absolutely 100% sucks. And, you know, that's when Jordan stepped in and was like, you know, I got some money I can give you to re-record. And Purcell put in the rest of the money to re-record the record, where the Crawmax did their shit, where Leeway did their shit in Rhode Island.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, that's 5 minutes from my tattoo shop. Normandy.
Yeah, that place is sick. Tom Sawers was fucking great.
Yeah, sick of it all. Yeah, like a lot of people recorded records there.
Yeah, so, and then I guess like to offset the cost of the money that, you know, Jordan from Revelation already put up, he pressed up like however many of these Chun King records. And I don't know, man. It's just the mindset of a record collector.
Absolutely.
I've never been one, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, same thing, man. Like, well, I'm not gonna lie, I was a collector, not because I was trying to actively collect. It was just I loved the music and I just wanted to have it, you know. And if there was no Spotify back then. Like you had to have the record, or someone had to dub it for you or something. That was the only way to have it. But yeah, like, you know, something I miss about that time was kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but like it was like being like you had to seek it out, and and I felt like we had more appreciation for shit because you had to really be there and seek it out. It wasn't like shit just wasn't as available, and so it felt special. You track down a record or something that you've always wanted or always wanted to hear but could never heard or whatever, and it just, I don't know. I felt like there was more appreciation for shit back then because it was harder to get. So like you had to put in more effort for it, I guess. I don't know what the word is, but
yeah, I hear you, because I was never a record collector.
Yeah.
But I do have this one fucking story where I lucked out with records. It was like a weekday morning, and you know, I was leaving my girlfriend at the time lived on Mulberry Street, you know, corner Mulberry and Bleecker. So I was leaving there, and I was walking. I was going to go down like Avenue Way and shit, Tompkins Square. So I was walking down St. Mark's, and it was like, must have been like 10, 11 in the morning. And right in front of me is a guy. He's carrying a box, and he had like this jacket on. I forget what, but I knew he was like into punk rock and shit from what was written on his jacket and shit.
Yeah.
So he goes up the stairs to this record store called Sounds, and he goes inside. So I follow him in, and I start looking at the records next to him, and he's at the counter, and he's like, "I want to sell these records and shit." And I can hear him like say he just lists off like, you know, all the fucking Misfits 7-inches, like Halloween and fucking Who Killed Marilyn and fucking, you know, Beware and 3 Hits from Hell.
Yeah. Horror business.
And Bullet and shit. And I'm just like, this is fucking crazy. And he fucking, and sure enough, he fucking sells them and he splits. And so I just walk up to the fucking counter and just go up to the guy and like, how much are these records? And he's just like, I don't know, they just got here. And he's like, I don't know, he's just like, give me $7. I was like, okay, I'll take them all. I'll take them all.
Yeah.
All right, let me see if I got it. Hold on. I was just like, and then I fucking walk out of the store. I'm like, holy shit, I just got all the Misfits 7-inches for like fucking, you know, under $10. I'm like, wait till I tell this fucking story.
Oh yeah. Yeah, dude. And that's another one. That's some of those records are like couple grand now. It's fucking bananas, especially like Night of the Living Dead and stuff, because it didn't get repressed as much, and so it's a little rarer. Just some of the like.
Yeah.
I got a Cough Cool who if I ever get rid of it, it's I have to give it to Roger because he's been on me for a couple of years, but I'm like, I don't really want to get rid of it, but I don't know. You know what? The older I get, I have attachment to the music, but I don't care about the physical things as much anymore. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like,
yeah.
But I don't want to be that dude that sells shit. Like, I'd rather just give it to people that I'm friends with that would appreciate shit. Like, I don't know. It's a tough
and Roger's definitely a guy who would appreciate that shit.
Oh, absolutely. I can't believe I have something that he actually wants. You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah,
oh, shit,
really.
Dude. I'm like, that dude's the most meticulous collector of shit. So it's probably because he only has like 2 of them. He needs like 4. You know what I mean? I don't know. but yeah. Anyway, man, fucking. So you know, I get like the times were way different back then. Like touring isn't like it is now, and you know there was a lot more horror on the roads, and the country was different. Times were different. Like different regions of the country were different. So I get, you know, I can see there's a lot of frustration. So at one point you just said, you know, what was the point where you just said fuck it? And I think you might have even started talking about that a little bit. Where you just said fuck it, I'm out of here. And then it sounds like you did that, and then literally a couple weeks later, motorcycles came into your life. Like, what was that kind of transition like? And because you know, out for us when we were kids, like, you know, the rumor, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, was like, oh man, Mike Judge left the band and he joined a motorcycle gang and whatever, blah blah blah, and then no one saw you around or heard from you for a long time. So like what happened when you ducked out like of hardcore? Because you know, up to that point it was a big part of your life. What was it like to kind of like duck out of that? And I'm not saying you ducked out, but you just kind of left and got into other shit. Like, kind of talk about that transition.
I definitely ducked out, bro. I was like, I was just like, I don't know. I just was like so frustrated. I was like, I felt like I couldn't do enough, and just that everything was just, it was just a big mind fuck for me. And then, you know, like my buddy Todd comes up with a motorcycle, we start riding, and I start, you know, I'm starting to get my head together, just being out on a motorcycle. And then the one thing that I fucking missed the most about being in a band, even though it was fucking so hard, but the thing I missed the most was, you know, being in a van with my friends and just fucking, you know, back then there's no computers, there's no cell phones, there's no nothing. So you get into the van and you got like 6, 7 of your friends with you. And then you leave your home and you're going state to state or whatnot, city to city. And after a while, you're just like, everybody in this band is my brother, is my family. We're all we got.
Yeah.
You know, there's nobody here but us. And that kind of fucking bond that forms in that situation is that's why those guys who I traveled with back then are still my brothers today.
Sure.
Because I love them. They were like always there, day in, day out. They're my true friends, and I miss that. And I started fucking longing for that kind of fucking, I don't know,
connection.
Yeah. And there was like this local bar that we all hung out at, played pool at, and I met these guys and who rode motorcycles and shit, and we were talking motorcycles, and then they invited me to come out to the Bronx and hang out, and so I go out there and meet some other guys, and basically that's it. I wind up joining a club.
Yeah.
And because I was looking for that same type of fucking, it's all of us against the world. And that's what it was for a long time. For a while, it was like that. Until it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
In that world, when things go sideways and politics fuck up everything, you're all for one, and then somebody does something, and then you're all of a sudden like, now you're not all for one. And then some of us were like, what happened? I thought we're all in this together. Why are we like alienating this guy? It went crazy fast.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much you know about that kind of lifestyle, but it's hard to, it's a lot easier getting in than getting out.
Yeah.
So it takes a while, and you got to be smart about it and shit. But
yeah,
I mean that's basically what happened. Is just like I missed that fucking community, the friendship, that fucking it's us against the world type of feeling. And so that's where I went looking for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And I don't know, like, it's crazy to me that, it's not crazy to me, but it's awesome to me that like hardcore and shit like that is still around. It's been around like 40 something years now, and still here, and that there's still a lot of people involved in it that were there from the start or there from early on. And to me, that's just kind of like proof of concept, that there's like people that were into this, like, or got into this, like, it really means something to a lot of people. Like, obviously there's been plenty of changes of the guard, and people leaving and coming and blah, 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 and new kids, and you need that stuff, like, to keep it going and things. But it was, especially back in those days, man, like, it wasn't cool. So, like, it was like us against the world, like, and that's one of the reasons why I never really, this is to look at it simply, one of the reasons why I never got involved in like motorcycle clubs is because like I don't want to put on a patch and then other guys riding motorcycles are my enemy now. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like very much simplifying it, but like in those terms, like other dudes on bikes, like really, I got no problem with. I got problems with society. You know what I mean? Like the bigger thing, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, and I get it, and I got a lot of respect for clubs and guys that ride in clubs, and, I'm around a lot of it, but I stay independent because, one, I got a bike shop, and two, like, I don't want to have other people on bikes as my enemies unless they do something personally to me, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that it's all about being enemies, whatever, with club stuff, like, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's part of it, but
yeah, I remember, like, because in the town I grew up in, there was like a motorcycle club.
Yeah,
and they were around in the 70s, and they were called the BBMC, right? And then as time goes on, the 80s, they changed their name to Steel Wheels, and they're an AMA club, and they're all my friends. I grew up with them. We grew up together in the same town, and we all know each other, and basically they're like, hey, you want to why don't you come join us? To me and Todd both. They're like, come join us. And I already had my eyes set on something else going on in the Bronx.
Sure.
So I was like, no, I'm good. And then Todd was like, yeah, I'll do it, maybe. So he starts hanging around and shit. And we go down South Jersey on a ride. And it's like me and then Todd and his girlfriend at the time. And we go down to this outdoor bar in South Jersey to see a band. And it was like no big band, just like a local band just playing cover songs. It was just a nice day. We went for a ride. And so, these guys from my town in this club, they fucking go down there too and shit. So we're hanging out. And everything was fucking cool until this other fucking club shows up who happens to be a fucking 1% club. And they're like talking and shit. And I could see them talking. I don't know what they're talking about, but I could see them talking. And I'm not feeling any way at this point until the fucking dude comes over to me and he's like, hey, Mike, no disrespect, but you guys gotta get out of here. You can't hang out with us. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we're an AMA club. We don't want any trouble, this or anything. I was like, but we grew up together. Like in my mind, I'm like, we grew up together. We're friends. We fucking hang out every fucking day, basically after work. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, like in your head, how does that work out? Tomorrow, when you see me tomorrow, how do you picture it go?
Yeah.
Knowing that you're hanging me and my friend out to dry. You're like, I was just like, fucking, this whole fucking world is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And basically, I was like, all right. I mean, to fucking, if you need me to fucking split to save your own fucking ass, then I'll do it. Nothing fucking happened.
Yeah.
They're just the other club was just basically laughing at the fucking AMA club because they're just like, what pussies.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah. And yeah. It's like it's crazy, man, when some dudes put that shit above like lifelong friendships. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I was like, dude, I was like trying to tell him, like, dude, they're not going to do anything. This whole fucking place is surrounded by state cops.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to do anything here. We're all just listening to music. Yeah, but they told us. Oh, they told you?
Yeah.
Did they tell you what to do?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. It's a weird world of politics in that, in sometimes, but
yeah.
But yeah, dude, like fucking, what was it? Like, I was at the Bowl when you guys did your first show in a long time, and I know you, like you said, you kind of ducked out. And what was it like coming back? And like, did you know like what Judge had spiraled into? Like, like how big the band had gotten over the years? Like, because those bowls, those two New York shows were fucking nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I had like an idea really. Like,
yeah,
I knew like just from reading shit on Facebook and shit, like people kind of dug us from all over the place, but I didn't know like in numbers what that would mean.
Yeah.
And then I remember I don't remember how or why I did the radio show in the first place, the Black and Blue radio show.
Yeah.
But I thought basically I was just brought on to talk about like the old New York scene or something, because I'm just like in that spot. Like, I'm not like first wave, like maybe Roger and Vinny. And I'm not like whatever third wave, like you said today. I'm like in the middle of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I got to see like those, I started fucking hanging out like 81.
Yeah.
81, 82. So I got to see all those first wave bands, and then I got to see it all pretty much. So how I kind of got like a different perspective, I guess.
Sure.
I thought that's what I was there to talk about. And there was a lot of judge talk at the time. But I didn't think it was going to amount to anything really like it wound up doing. Basically, it went down like this. Like, I had this friend who was like one of Tommy's best friends also. Like, the three of us, we kind of like hung out together. And he lived in town with me. And even though I wasn't coming into the city or going to shows, he was. And he would like, we'd like hang out and play video games and shit. And he'd tell me like what bands he's seen, who's doing what, this, that, and the other thing. And then, so one day he calls me and he's like, dude, you gotta do me a favor. He's like, Sick of It All is playing Urban Plaza and it's sold out and I really need to go to the show. You gotta call somebody and see if you could get me in. And then I was like, who the fuck am I gonna call? You know, I haven't talked to any of these guys since I stepped out of that band. And it's been like 30 years, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I haven't talked to anybody. Like, who am I going to call? And he's like, just please try. I need to see the show. And so I'm going through, like, something I had, phone numbers in it. And I wound up seeing fucking a number for Anthony Civarelli, Sid.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are the chances of this still being his number? Like, I don't even remember where I got this from. So I call it, and it is him. I'm like, hey, is this Sid? He's like, yeah. I go, hey, my name's Mike. I was a Frankfurt judge. We're actually pretty good friends. And he's like, get the fuck out. Are you serious? So we talked and shit. And I was like, listen, I know it's been a while, but you know, I need a favor. Can you get a friend of mine into Sick of It All? And so Anthony's like, Sid was like, yeah, I'll get him into Sick of It All if you come see us at this year's Black and Blue because the Biscuits were headlining.
Yeah. No, I was. Yeah,
so,
that was a good one too.
So I was like, yeah, it was like the year before 2012, I guess. And he's like, I'll get him into the show, but you got to come see us at Black and Blue.
Actually, didn't Civ called you out at that show, right? Like he was like
yeah,
I remember that. Yeah, I was like, because I was gonna introduce myself and talk to you because I had talked to you once years ago, like when Judge was still active. But I was like, you were looking a little like you were looking a little uncomfortable, you know.
It was like it was beyond me because I remember like I had already done the radio show.
Yeah.
So I kind of like I knew Cuz and shit, and I knew Busty, Lawrence, and Damien and shit. So I knew those guys, and then I just didn't know how big it would be.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't. I had no idea. So
the last time you saw Gorilla Biscuits was probably at the Anthrax or some shit, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had no fucking clue.
Yeah.
And so I get there, and I'm like, holy fuck! I mean, so many fucking people, and fucking Cuz gets me right away, gets me and my wife, and he takes us upstairs. He's got a table set, and like so because my head is spinning, like I'm not good in crowds as it is, and I'm just like, holy shit, just like totally out of my fucking element and shit.
Yeah.
And then so the night's going on. I'm seeing people I haven't seen God knows how long and shit. I even seen Purcell that night after not seeing him in like fucking 30 years. And right before the Biscuits go on, Sid like calls me aside and he's like, listen, we're going to do New York Crew tonight. I want you to come out and sing it with me. And I was like, are you fucking crazy? You see how many people are out there? What the fuck's going out there, man? And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking pretty fucking positive, man. There's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right. And so he goes, and then he does this he dedicates a song and whatnot, says some shit about when we met and how we went out. He was like our drum tech. It was more like buddies hanging out. There wasn't no like drum tech or shit. We were just like friends going out on tour. And I don't know. It was like pretty fucking. It was like kind of like emotional, I guess.
Sure.
But basically, I was like,
I was like, look at all these people. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe this is still happening. And like, I can't believe this is Gorilla Biscuits right now. These are like the homies, and I can't believe it. And then they played New York Crew, and like this whole fucking crowd is like singing and shit. And like everywhere I look, people are singing. I'm just like, holy fuck. And then at that point, I was like, man, I wish that was me. You know, like I wish I would. And then I was kind of in the back of my mind, just like, I wonder if Judge could do this again.
Mm.
And then so like we go home and shit, and I'm just constantly thinking about it. And then I just remember fucking taking my dog for a walk, and I was talking to my dog, this big fucking Rottweiler and shit.
Yeah.
Just like talking to him, and he's just like looking at me with sideways and shit. Like, are you really talking to me right now? And I'm just like, you think I can do it? You think? It's all this shit. And then right there and there, I called Cousin Joe. I was like, hey, if next year's Black and Blue, you think Judge could play? And he's like, yeah. I was like, all right, I'll get in touch. And that was it. I didn't think Judge would headline it.
Yeah, never mind. You didn't realize you guys would be a 2-day in a row headliner?
No, I didn't think we'd headline.
Yeah.
I remember going out there doing something for Cousin Joe. I think I did the radio show again for it to make the announcement.
Yeah.
That Judge was like the surprise announcement that Judge was going to headline.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you sure we should headline, dude? Are you sure we should headline? He's like, dude, trust me. Trust us.
Yeah.
We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. So we do the radio show, make the announcement. Then I'm on my way home. And by the time I got home, like Cousin Joe's calling me going, something happened, and fucking the old number for tickets was still active, and so the show sold out. What do you think about doing the second show?
Yeah.
And I was like, second show? Okay, yes. That's just like, my head was just spinning.
Yeah. But
crazy.
When you were at the bowl the year before where Gorilla Biscuits played, and you said you were in there, and you go into this place, and you're not expecting the size of what shows of those shows at least are like, and you're seeing people you haven't seen in 30 years. Like, what was that like for you, man? Did shit just come like really like flooding back to you? Like what that must have been like kind of like a mind fuck, right?
Yeah. Totally. Like I'm seeing people. I mean, I was hanging out with Tavi too, so
yeah.
Tavi's like up on everything and shit, and so it's not like I was totally like blind about everything because I did have Mike and Tavi telling me shit. But just seeing people, especially like the people who I considered brothers after so long.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember like the funny thing was, I see everybody, and then I remember seeing Arthur come walking up from Gorilla Biscuits, and he's like all tall and skinny and shit.
Yeah. And
I'm just like, oh no. In my mind, I was like, oh no, Arthur's sick. Oh, that's like because he was so skinny and shit.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was like, out of everything I've ever done though, that weekend, those 2 fucking Black and Blue Bowls were just like the best time I've ever had.
Yeah.
In a band.
What was it like, man? Like hitting that stage, like, cause you said you had a hesitation about even doing a band where you were a vocalist. Cause like you said, you like to hide behind the drum kit. Like, what was it like to go on that stage where, like people were flying in from all over the country and from like Europe and shit to come to this show.
Yeah.
What did it feel like to hit that stage for the first time? Like, and especially a show of that kind of like magnitude, like
the first night was like fucking, like my fucking heart was pounding and shit. I was like, there's a good chance I'm fucking not gonna make it. Like I was like freaking out.
Yeah.
And then I remember like going downstairs to the stage, and then the band was like, you stay here. We're gonna play the intro music, and then you come out. And so I was like kind of all right, and then they split, and I was alone. I was like fucking. Yeah. I was like in my mind, I was like, what's the worst that could happen if I just split right now? Like, I was just like, what the fuck? And I was like, definitely fucking, I was definitely feeling it, man. I must have been definitely showing it because I remember fucking Blood Clot comes walking downstairs.
Yeah.
And then he walks by me, and as he's walking by me, he looks over, he goes, no turning back now. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then it was just, I mean, at that point it was on. And then once the music started, I felt better because I always got off on the fucking judges' music and shit.
Yeah.
Once the music got me, my mind just went to a whole different place. And
Sure.
it's easy at that point.
Yeah. It's
The one part that did get me was the second night. The second night, like we just finished playing, and there's like these kids from some country who I just met earlier, and I'm on the stage. And I'm like talking to somebody, and I look beside, and I see this group of kids who are from whatever country, I don't remember, and they're like looking at me, and then they just start fucking going, "Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike." And everybody starts chanting, "Thank you, Mike."
wow.
And at that point, I was like, I should probably go upstairs because this is getting like, I could just feel like I'm not going to cry in front of these fucking people, but this is just like way, way too much.
Yeah.
This is way, way too much for a kid who grew up as like an introvert who was like,
Yeah.
ostracized by anyone he came in contact with. And now I got this big room of fucking people
Thanking you.
chanting my name. And I'm just like, what happens next? Does fucking lightning actually strike me and kill me here? Because what else could happen?
Sure.
It was something. It was something I'll never forget.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, "Oh, like fuck."
Yeah. Well,
It's just a time, man. I don't know how to put it into words.
dude.
And I will always be in debt and grateful to Cousin Joe, Busby, and all those boys
Yeah.
for that time. I mean,
Sure.
it was once in a lifetime deal.
Well, dude, I mean, the first night, as soon as that fucking intro, the first note was played, did you just see that place fucking explode? I mean, because that's before you came on and started singing. I know when you start doing your thing, you kind of go into another place, but what did you think of when you saw that place fucking explode?
I wasn't really looking out there. I was like looking at Sammy.
Okay.
Because usually when I'm like trying to get my shit together, I look at the drummer
Okay.
and find my spot.
Yeah.
It was when I had to like walk out before I fucking, have to sing. And I look out and then I seen like the place was like going off that I was like, okay, this is going to work.
Oh yeah. So anything like planned, like, are you guys got anything kind of in the works or any new stuff
Like,
going on?
I mean, we've written music and shit. It's just, to me, there's like a high standard and shit.
Yeah.
I have words, and I'm just waiting for the right music. I mean, in my mind, I would love to,
Yeah.
but I can't just do it because somebody told me to do it. I mean, I need to do it because it's an honest representation of what Judge is to me.
Sure. But when I say that, I mean, just because I think it'd be interesting to hear new stuff from you because, you're a lot farther along in life than, being a young kid. And I'm sure there's still stuff that affects you as hard or as equally. There's just new shit to be pissed about. And I think you probably have some important shit or important perspective to put on that. You know what I mean? Like,
you think, brother?
Yeah.
This fucking world is driving me crazy right now.
It's fucking absolute insanity every day, dude. Like, you can't even keep up with it anymore. Like if I was trying to write a record right now, I don't even know what I'd write about because shit changes and the next day there's something fucking new. You know what I mean? It's like, how many times can we just be fucking smashed, in the face?
Yeah, just everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like impossible to like decipher what's real and what's not, and who's lying and who's not lying.
Yeah.
Like last night, I just got caught up in like reading all these like articles on what's going on in Ukraine and shit.
Sure.
And I'm like, it's so fucking weird. Like if you read these articles, you'd be like, oh, Ukraine's kicking their ass. You read these articles, oh, Russia's kicking their ass.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's so easy to say turn off the fucking news, but like, who is telling the truth?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't trust anybody.
No.
I'm not left. I'm not right. I think they're all fucking motherfuckers. And I don't think any of them got anybody's best interest in mind except themselves.
Absolutely.
So
I'm there with you.
So it's just like, who do you fucking listen to? Anybody can look up and find a source for what they want to say,
Sure.
to back up what they want to say. It's like, the world is just so fucking crazy. And that's why, like, up here in Albany, like, I got like this handful of people I'm tight with, and we just try and get through day by day because it's fucking crazy.
Absolutely.
And I also work with Craig Ahead, so Craig Ahead's like crazy and shit. So
Oh yeah. I love Craig, dude.
yeah, he keeps me fucking laughing. Anytime it gets too heavy, he fucking brings out some Bigfoot shit.
Yeah.
Fucking makes me laugh.
Yeah, he was on this too, and he's gonna come down. I think this summer we're gonna go for a ride, man. So get that bike back up and running, get it up there. You know what I mean? Fucking swing through.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, because there's another guy who we work with, Steve Lance, who has like he has one of the newer like wide glides and shit.
Yeah.
And so they get together and they ride, but they fucking do massive miles. I'm like, I don't know if my body could take a hardtail that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but
yeah, sometimes you need a couple bikes, man, for different things.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I remember at the time, like, I was like, this Softail is fucking great, but it's just like it's not low enough. It doesn't look like this, and it doesn't look like that. I remember like it's a corny movie, but do you remember that movie, fucking Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man?
Yeah, yep. Yeah,
fucking Mickey Rourke's bike in that movie.
The FXI, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I did. There's this fucking bike shop on the highway a couple towns away from me called Croman Custom Cycle. It's like a couple guys who are angels fucking own it and shit.
Yep.
And I remember because I knew them for fucking years and shit. So I go in there with this fucking super fucking comfortable fucking Softail and a fucking picture of that bike from Harley Davidson and Marlboro Man.
Yeah.
And go, make it as close to this as possible. And then, so it took like fucking it took like over a year to just giving them whatever money I could make and shit.
Sure.
And then finally it got done. But it was like as close to that bike as a Softail could get.
Yeah.
And it was just badass.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, I love this fucking thing.
Yeah.
But it's a rough ride, man.
Yeah. Rigid is especially when if you're on like a solo seat with springs or something, it takes, or like a pogo seat, it takes a little bit of the absorbs a little of the shock. But if you're sitting on a seat right on the frame rail, better be good at dodging potholes, man, because otherwise you're gonna need you're gonna have to have a kidney belt on and fucking a chiropractor on speed dial.
No fucking doubt, bro. When I'm fucking on a highway and it's like, because I got nothing on this fucking bike. I just got a headlight and a fucking small tail light over my fucking license plate.
Yep.
I got nothing else. There's no other electrics. And I'm riding down the highway and my headlight is only showing so much. By the time I seen the pothole, it was too late. Oof. When I hit it,
in the air,
I thought I was going over.
Yeah.
And then another time, because I got no rear fender, I have a rear fender that's cut like over the middle of the tire.
Yep. And
I had my fucking girlfriend on the back, and I just had like this suction cup pee pad.
Yeah.
To put on for her to ride on. So she's basically riding on the fucking fender, and I hit a pothole with that. And I swear to God, I seen her over my head. And I could see her head like come over my head, and she was holding on tight enough where she came back down. I was like, damn,
You're like, yeah, I get that.
This bike is a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, I've had people lose passengers that way. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, it is fun, man. Like I said, it's fucking dangerous and fun, but like the and calmly, like it's like Zen. It's like the most dangerous thing you can do that you can still like Zen out doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
especially nowadays, man, with so many distracted drivers. But I don't know, like when I was young, like I lived in the city and then I lived in Boston and Providence and this and that. And now I live in the woods and I'm fucking happy now. Like I wouldn't want, like when I was a kid, I wouldn't want to live in the woods, but like now I do. And it's good riding, you know what I mean? And my shop is, you know, if we hook a left, you know, we're on like roads like hugging lakes and shit like in 2 minutes.
Nice.
So it's beautiful riding. Yeah. It's a good place to be able to test ride customer bikes and shit like that too. Was before I was test riding bikes in the city in the projects and shit. Like it was not as fun. But yeah, man. Fucking you gotta get that thing back up to Albany and get that going, man. I mean, you gotta miss riding, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's where I would like get my head together, my thinking straight.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also had like a car that was good for that too. Like I sold the car.
Yeah.
Once I lost my house and shit, but I had like a '69 Roadrunner that had like a you know, like a 383. So it wasn't like a big block, but it had no radio or nothing.
Yep.
But the sound of that motor was just like, it was enough. So like a nice highway,
yeah, like
nighttime, just that car on the road, fucking the sound of that car was like fucking perfect.
Yeah, I had a '73 Duster with a 440 jammed in there, and
nice. My brother had a fucking Duster.
Yeah, that thing, you'd be going 30, 40 miles an hour, and you'd hit it, and you'd stop roostering around and shit. Like it was fucking a menace. And you know how those old you know, muscle cars, like the suspension everything was like, it's not like a new car, like where, you know, it's super tight handling and suspension and shit. Like it's sketchy as fuck. And that was part of the fun of it, you know, this loud fucking machine that you were just fucking in, you know, it was fucking rad.
The Roadrunner was like a four speed on the floor and shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And it had that big fucking, the suspension gave it all that body roll and shit. So when you fucking hit it, just like around a turn, like you could feel the whole fucking weight of the car like coming up.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just the shit, man.
Fuck. What'd you say? Was it 69?
Yeah, 69 Roadrunner.
God damn, dude.
My brother had that same car when he was in high school when I was a little kid.
Yeah. And
his was like black on black interior and shit. And I was just like, I love this fucking car. His was like a 440 with an air grabber hood and shit.
Yep.
And I was like, I want that car. And then he wound up selling it, and then he got a Duster, and then he wound up like, all of a sudden he wanted to act like he was like this older dude, like hanging out, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like a cokehead type of guy and shit. So he sold all his shit. And then he bought like this big boat, Lincoln Continental and shit. Oh my God. And at the time he had this Duster, he also, this was like the 70s. So you got to understand, he had this fucking Yamaha chopper.
Yeah.
It was the most dangerous fucking bike you've ever seen in your life. Cause it had like this girder front end that like went for a fucking mile, but the frame was never cut or anything. So the frame sat like it was going uphill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it had like this 2-level fucking seat with a big sissy bar and and the fucking taillight was like an iron cross taillight and shit.
Yep.
It's crazy looking motorcycle. Every time you punched it, the fucking front end would come off the fucking ground because it was like so unbalanced.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the
big
geometry was
fucking
all
pipes and shit.
Yeah, fuck yeah, man.
And I was like a little kid. I was like, I want that bike. I want that car. I want that bike.
What color was your Roadrunner?
My Roadrunner was a really weird color, rust. It was like factory color.
All right, so it wasn't
and then
one
a
of
light brown interior.
Yeah, it wasn't one of the wacky like lemon twist or whatever, or like fucking purple or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, Sublime Line.
Yeah. Dude,
Yeah.
you know what that Roadrunner's worth now, man, right?
Yeah.
It's fucking
Yeah.
dude, I think of all the shit I got rid of for like little money, because you know, I had muscle cars when no one gave a fuck. Like, I bought a 71 Chevelle in Pennsylvania. It was a true matching number super sport. I bought it for $5,000. And it was like 2001, because I was driving it back, and it was like when New York was still in kind of like lockdown from 9/11, and I had no plate on it, and I bought it in Pennsylvania, and I was driving it, and I was like, I just had a buddy like tailgate me the whole time, because I was like, I got no plate on this or anything, and I'm driving it back to Massachusetts. And, you know, I sold that car a couple years later for like $9,000, but now that car's like 30, 40 grand, dude. And it's fucking nuts. I'm like, why didn't I just hold on to shit? But no, I didn't have money.
Yeah.
You don't have money to keep everything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there's nothing like, right? Like the feeling of being on like, you know, a bike, sketchy bike, or like a muscle car or hot rod or something. Like, I don't know. You have to be dialed in and connected to that machine, because shit can easily get out of hand. And I don't know. I fucking love it.
Yeah. I mean, I love the car because I get the same type of feeling from the car, because the sound of the motor gives me that same feeling, that same sound that I get from a motorcycle.
Yep.
Motorcycle has always been my first love. I mean, I just fucking love Harley Davidson. I just love fucking chopped up motorcycles. The thing is, as I got older and like not as fucking such a hellraiser, I noticed like how little respect motorcycles get on the streets from like guys in cages and shit.
Yep.
So it's like, I'm just like, I can't believe I've done all this and never been hit by somebody. Like,
I know.
all my friends have gone down in one way or another.
Yep.
From and not from actions of their own, just by like,
get cut off.
guys not paying attention to them.
Yep. Yeah, that's an unfortunate part of it now, and especially now that's why I say I like being in the woods now, because I go out on these country roads that aren't as congested, and there's less of a chance of someone being fucking texted and being distracted or whatever, you know what I mean? And that shit's fucking for real, man. And I noticed even in myself, like, you know, when I was younger, I was more of a hellraiser. I used to ride way more aggressive. And now I just try and keep a pocket of like emptiness around me, because I'm like, I don't trust anybody on the road. You know, I'm like, everyone here is trying to kill me. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Or they don't give a fuck if they kill you. Either way, you know what I mean? Whether they're trying or not. Yeah. And yeah, it's fucked up. But dude, what else is going on, man? I know it's a Sunday afternoon. I'm not trying to keep you. I know you probably got shit going, but anything we missed? Actually, you've been around a long time. You get to see a lot of good shit. Like, and I'm envious, because I started getting into shit around 84, 85. And my first show was Jerry's Kids and Suicidal in 85. But I was still like, it was that summer in between like 8th grade and freshman year of high school. I was a kid, so I don't fully remember it. But you've been to a lot of shit, man. What's like a standout show, you know, either one that you did or like attended, like or performed with Judge, but like we all have a couple of standout shows, but like what's one of the craziest or like one of the best memories you have of like a favorite show that you went to? And
a show that the show that I've seen that is just like that I remember today, like it just happened, was those Bad Brain shows. I think in like maybe like 82 or 83, the Christmas Eve and Christmas Day shows.
Okay.
I think there are 3 of them.
Yep.
And especially the one that SSD played, because SSD was my shit.
Yeah. Wait, was SSD still playing SSD stuff, or were they more on the rock shit?
No, it was like total Get It Away. Fucking kids will have their shit. It's like fucking intense.
Yeah.
So those for seeing a show were those. And then the show that I played that I'm just like, this is the greatest fucking night. Not including the Black and Blue shows that Judge did.
Yeah.
Was Youth of Today at Fenders in LA, playing with the Exploited. And we were fucking awesome that night.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, we were so like fucking. We just wanted to blow the Exploited away so bad
Sure.
that we were just fucking. We just went off. It was fucking incredible night.
How was the crowd at that? Like, cause I know California can be a little weird, and then especially like at that time, the punk rock crowd. How were you guys received?
But we had a bunch of people who loved us there.
Okay. Good.
But what was crazy is that afternoon I wound up getting like, I wouldn't say jumped, kind of mugged, but I didn't have anything to steal.
Yeah.
In a park across the street by this fucking LA gang, I guess, called the Lads, the LA Death Squad.
Yep.
And it's funny because we set up for sound check and shit, and then we were hungry, and so they split, and I was late because I was still getting something off the drum set or whatnot. So I went to catch up with them, and I remember the dude telling us specifically, "There's a pizza shop like this way. Stay on the sidewalk. Don't cut through the park." So that's what we did. And then by the time I got there, they were finishing up. They split again. So I finished up. And then stupidly, I was like, I'm going to take a shortcut. I'm going to go through the park.
Yeah.
And that's when they got me. And so there was that. And then, so now we play this fucking show and we're all fucking amped and shit. And after our set, you know, I remember distinctly, like, we're just fucking going off and Capo is like, let's tear this motherfucker apart because we're just so fucking amped. And everybody just goes fucking crazy and the whole place is fucking erupting and shit. And we have this great set. And then afterwards, we're out in the crowd, you know, trying to sell some fucking records and make some money. And all these skinheads are like gathering around and they were like, you know, they were totally staring us down and shit. And we're like, fuck, you know, there's like a lot of them and shit.
Yeah.
And then before anything happened, that same group of that LA Death Squad, man, they kicked in a side door and like marched in. And when the skinheads seen them, the skinheads like fucking
Took
guarded
off.
like rats, man. They was like scared shitless. So that whole night was like, just like, what a crazy fucking time.
Fuck
What
yeah.
a crazy fucking scene.
Fuck yeah, man. Well, dude, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Anything before we wrap up? Anything you want to promote or plug or anything, or anything to look
No,
out
I'm
for?
good, brother. I'm happy we finally got to do this.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
So
I'm gonna shut this off here. Again, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time today. It was fucking great. I'm gonna shut this off, but I'm not gonna hang up. So just hold up 1 second.